A new video has surfaced of The Rock looking even skinnier and more gaunt than his appearance at the Venice Film Festival, and fans are speculating whether or not something deeper is going on.
Is it possible that The Rock is just not telling us the full story? That he's actually sick?
I actually think it's not that deep. I think he's intentionally losing weight for a role in an upcoming movie called Lizard Music. Obviously, he's gone off the PEDs as he's playing an elderly man whose best friend is a chicken in a movie about a bunch of alien lizards that play music. And I think that he probably took this role because he can no longer play those hulking roles in movies anymore because of the fact that he had a heart problem. We've covered this before on this channel. I've made a video about how he had a heart problem and how he was interviewed by a doctor and he kind of tap danced around the real issue. Now, if you look at this video of The Rock at the Toronto International Film Festival,
I've known Emily for almost a decade now. I feel like we've known each other for a lifetime.
you can see that he doesn't have the same energy he normally has. And it could make people draw the conclusion that he's actually sick, but I don't think it's any more than what was going on with his heart. I don't think there's a deeper issue going on. I think he genuinely is actively losing weight, because if you just go off steroids, you're not going to lose 60 pounds of muscle. Now, I know this from when I was bodybuilding and when I used to diet down for jiu-jitsu competitions. I would have a lot less energy and I would be a lot slower when I was talking.
Known Benny for 6-7 years now as well.
It looks like his cheeks are sunken in. He looks like he's aged like 10 years. And I think that's what he was actually going for. I think to play an elderly person, he probably has to get into that type of character. And you're obviously not going to be as energetic playing an older person and having to get gaunt and look like your face is sunken in. You can see his chest doesn't look as full as it used to be. He looks a lot skinnier. And obviously he doesn't look healthy like this. We're used to seeing him jacked up on steroids. When you take PEDs, you're gonna retain a lot more water and your face is gonna look a lot fuller and it's gonna make you look younger.
I have to gain 30 pounds.
Don't worry, why don't you go? We got it.
To train a lot, eat a lot.
The Rock used to promote this healthy lifestyle of getting up at 4 a.m., being the hardest worker in the room, but the whole time we all knew that he was taking steroids. Now, some people that are fans of The Rock, they have no idea what it takes to get into that type of shape. I have met people who genuinely think that he's natural. If you try to get this type of physique and it doesn't work out and you're natural, there's nothing wrong with that. Because barely any of these actors you're watching on TV, if any of them, are actually natural. And that's the problem I have with this whole thing with The Rock. He's obviously not going to address the fact that he has taken performance enhancing drugs. I seen in some interview where he said he did it in high school, which is absolutely ridiculous.
He's Liver King. You're Liver King all over again.
They're basically pissing on our leg and telling us it's raining. Because obviously Hollywood is not going to tell the truth about anything. And that's why I like that we have these platforms, because we can actually be honest and talk about this stuff for what it actually is. I don't think it's good that this is happening, but I do think it's good that we're seeing a lot of these celebrities losing weight. We've seen it with Dave Bautista. I think Dave Bautista looks a little healthier than The Rock, which actually surprises me because I think Bautista was probably the worst culprit for performance enhancing drugs throughout his career. If you saw him back in the day when he was in the WWE, when he was in OVW and he was Leviathan, he was absolutely massive. I think he's like 6'4" and he was weighing like 350 pounds. The Rock, I think max, he probably weighed like 280. So he was a lot smaller than Bautista, and I actually think The Rock is shorter than Bautista.
Things continue to get worse for The Rock. People are saying perhaps he has cancer. He has no energy. His face is gaunt.
I don't think that he has cancer. I could see why people think that don't understand what it takes to diet down.
And so is it possible that The Rock is just not telling us the full story? That he's actually sick?
Now, obviously, The Rock is not telling us the full story because he never tells us the full story. He's made a career off of this squeaky clean, polished image, and he's never really addressed the steroid controversy, with the exception of that one video where he talked about trying steroids in high school, which is a complete load of bullshit. and we all know it. That one video I made of him where he was talking about his heart issue with that doctor, he was pretty huge in that video, and then like 3 months later, he was at the Venice Film Festival and he was looking skinnier by about 40 pounds. And now at this Toronto International Film Festival, he looks like he's lost another 20 pounds on top of that. I think he's just taking care of his health, hiding behind another role that forces him to lose weight, and I think he's gonna be getting more into these type of dramatic, serious roles. I don't know if a movie about alien lizards playing music is a serious role, but it sounds like it's completely out of the realm of The Rock just playing The Rock again. It might be interesting to actually see him play something different now and actually get into some serious acting.
We're talking about The Rock. There is no pectoral mass whatsoever. It's very, very small. Now,
It's almost like he's gone on a catabolic diet, which is literally the opposite of what 99% of people are trying to do. And now he gets to play this elderly man who's best friends with a chicken, and he's lost like 60 pounds, and he can continue to look skinnier without being suspicious of his past steroid use.
imagine if The Rock is starving himself, of which I personally believe that he is. I think that he's so desperate to be called a method actor that he'll do anything to play the part of the role.
He's purposely starving himself and going on some kind of catabolic diet and losing muscle so he can go into these method acting and get into these different characters, so he doesn't have to actually admit that he was taking all of these PEDs, and he can go back to the physique that he had back in the early 2000s. And I actually think he looked better in the early 2000s when he wasn't all jacked up. The only difference is I think his face looked better when he was more jacked because he was holding more water. Once he has a couple more of those massive pancake cheat days, he's probably going to be back to normal, and he's probably going to look better than he did before.
We've also seen the guy who plays Batman, I don't know his name, but I know that he once starved himself down to, I think it was in the 120s, eating 500 calories a day to play that role.
Now, less people were speculating about Christian Bale because he's not as obvious of a PED user. He did look like he was on something in the Batman, but we don't really know, so we can't say for sure. The Rock is the most obvious fake natty in the whole entire fake natty universe. Once he's lost this weight, people are gonna start flocking to the internet and speculating as to what's actually happening. And at the end of the day, I think he's just done this for this specific movie role. You're not gonna lose 60 pounds of muscle just from going off PEDs. This is something he's intentionally doing for this role, and I think he's using it as a scapegoat so he doesn't have to admit to his PED use. That's all I got for this video. If you want to talk about this further in the comments, leave me a message. If you want to like and subscribe to this video, it helps me reach more people with this message, and it helps me with the algorithm. Have a good morning, have a good afternoon, have a good evening. Stay skeptical. See you in the next video.